Welcome to another episode of the Metamorphosis Show. I'm Thomas, and yesterday I talked all about pulling in vertical and horizontal planes. And so today I'm going to talk all about pushing and why it's important, how you can do it very, very low impact and without any real equipment, unless you start to get a little bit advanced, in which case I'll show you some ring stuff too. So to start with, oh look, the frame's not bad. Hope everyone's doing well. Like I say, always, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. It's a little bit too far away for me to see, so I'll answer them at some point. So, unlike a pull-up, where people make all kinds of excuses as to why they can't do it, needing specific equipment, a push-up or any pressing motion, you just need your body. So as long as you have one of those, or most parts of it, you should be able to do this. So I'm going to start with a progression for a push-up, all the way up into basically a standard push-up, what I would call a standard push-up, why it's important, and then we'll move into support holds and dips and variations of that if you're a little bit more advanced or just want to get stronger. So with the push-up, I guess I should briefly cover, you're using your front delts, using your triceps, using your chest, and to a lesser extent your midsection. If you're doing it properly, you should be squeezing your abs, you should be squeezing your glutes. So if you're extremely weak, an easy way to start would be with some sort of bench or the edge of a wall. And I'll just show you this is just out of frame. Okay, that's better. So here I have a little bench and I'm not strong enough to do a standard push-up. So what I'm gonna do is lean against this, which, changes the leverage quite a bit. You can put your feet flat or you can cross them behind you. So the thing is, you need to touch your chest. This is where everyone sort of goes wrong, is their elbows come out, they go halfway down, and it's not the range of motion. It's hard on your shoulders, it's hard on your elbows. So what I'm going to try and do is show you exactly where your body needs to be position-wise, not only for longevity's sake, but also to get stronger. So anytime your elbows come out, it means your triceps are weak. So you want to try and keep them tucked. So I'm going to go down while tucking my elbows. You want them about 45 degrees from your body. And you want to touch your chest right around the nipple line at wherever you're going to, whether that's a wall or a bench. So let me just get to that. I'm going to put my feet flat. I'm going to touch my chest right about the nipple line and come back up. And with all these progressions, I didn't really mention this in the pulling video, but if you can do 3 sets of 12 in your workout a few times a week, then you're definitely ready to move on to the next progression. Sorry for the plane. So there I am. I'm moving against this. It's making the range of motion shorter, and it's a lot easier. So let's say I've progressed beyond that. Next, I'd be doing it from my knees. I hope this fits in the frame. Next, I'd be doing it from my knees, and now I'm crossing my feet up behind me. I'm squeezing my glutes. My hands are directly below my shoulders. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, only I'm making my body completely tight. And I picked up this pick. Let me try that again. I picked up this tip from Pavel Tsatsouline. I think I read it years ago in a book he had about the naked warrior or something like this, where you want to squeeze your fingertips into the ground, which creates more tension in your body. The more tension you can create, the better it is for you to push from point A to point B, and you don't have any muscle sort of slowing down the progress. So here I am, hands directly beneath my shoulders, fingertips gripping. I forgot to put it on airplane mode. There I go. If your stomach is touching first, you're not doing it properly, or you need to focus on your diet too. So, sorry for that interruption. Chest touches, come back up, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your midsection. That's your push-up. Again, when you can do 3 sets of 12 of that, you're ready to start doing regular push-ups. So, let me see if I can show you what that looks like from the front too. Your elbows, you really don't want to flare, and that's the thing that everybody does. And from the side too. Just like yesterday, if this is your push-up, I got news for you. You're not doing a push-up. You're doing a half bounce. So let's move into the regular push-up position. Traditionally, your hands, again, right beneath your shoulders, your elbows going out at 45 degrees, your chest touches, and you're back up. If you keep your glutes squeezed this whole time and your abs squeezed, you'll start to feel that all through your midsection as well. And you can build up strength in that position just by doing a plank, right? Now, moving beyond this, you can definitely do incline and decline variations, but I would say that the biggest change I've made this year, especially as I've moved outside and away from the weight room, is the hollow body position, which I mentioned yesterday in the pulling video. And the hollow body is, again, making sort of a modified C shape with your body. So your hips and glutes are being tucked under and squeezed, your abs are squeezed, and you're pushing out across your scapula, across your shoulder blades, instead of this. So here's the difference. This is my old push-up position, and here's my new push-up position at the top, right? So what this does, it just means you have to push a few extra inches. You get a little bit extra range of motion, which makes it quite a bit more challenging and will ultimately help in everything that you do with that depressed scapula push. So LSITs, anytime you want to mess around on the parallettes or rings, you're going to need to be strong in these areas. So this is the hollow body position in the top. I'm going to do the same push-up, chest touches, and that's the top position. You'll notice when you do this that if you really push hard in that top position across your shoulder blades, all of a sudden push-ups become a lot more challenging because it's not just this range of motion. Again, I said this yesterday, if you're a bodybuilder and you're doing modified short ranges of motion because you're just trying to pump up a specific area, that's great. You know, that's totally specific to your sport and your look. I would say that for health reasons, in order to keep the body, you know, moving as fluidly as possible, I would say in most cases you're looking for the greatest range of motion. And I could be wrong there, but we'll see. Time will tell on that one. From the front, just so you see, I want you to see how closely my elbows are to my body when I come down. It's almost like a close grip bench press if you've ever done that. The more you flare, yes, you will get more chest activation, but it will be harder on your shoulders over time. Okay, so that is the push-up tutorial, and now I want to talk about the rings. So I think what I'll do is see how that frame looks. That should be okay. We'll go through some ring variations, and then I'll see if there are any questions, like yesterday, any urgent questions that you might have. And then we will lower the rings and I'll show you some push-up variations. But before we do that, this is my favorite warm-up for the shoulders. And you know, it follows that you should be doing warm-up before you do any work and physically, and I'm sure you already know that. But I'm going to show you the 3 moves that I like the best to get my shoulders ready for dipping work. So it's just a forward roll, and credit where credit is due. There's a guy named Antranik, and you can find all of his work at antranik.org. It's ANTRANIK.org. And I found him through Reddit bodyweight forums, which is just a tremendous resource for all kinds of bodyweight strength training. So now I'm doing backwards rolls. And again, it's a big range of motion. I'm trying to pump a bunch of blood through my shoulder girdle, specifically in the front and rear heads of the delts, also through my trapezius, to a lesser extent my rhomboids. Okay, then I like to do half dislocates. So you could use a band. I like to use this piece of bamboo because I found it in the yard and it's really handy. And you're going to go from basically your nipple line to your mid-back. The more mobility I have, the wider my hands are, the less mobile my shoulders are, and that's okay, but you will build towards being able to bring your hands in close. The important thing here is go as wide as you need to, just make sure that the elbows stay locked, right? So I'm going from the nipple line to my mid-back, locking the elbows. If you're able to bring your hands in closer, that's great. That means you have much better mobility than the average person. And if you spend your day at a computer, it's important that you do this kind of stuff regularly anyway. Moving on, I like to do a rotator cuff fly. So now my palms are up and I bring my hands together, a big wide arc, bring my hands together, and again, I'm just pumping blood into my rotator cuff, into those shoulders, getting them ready for the work ahead. I do like 8 to 10, whatever. Your warm-up shouldn't be the workout itself. It should take, 5 to 15 minutes depending on what you're doing. If you're powerlifting, for example, your warm-up will be much lengthier if you're strong compared to somebody who's just trying to work on getting a few push-ups. So then I move to full dislocates, and this is all the way down, all the way forward. If you can't even get close to this, you really need to start to address those things. I'm going to be honest with you, especially if you're getting older, you need to start addressing your shoulder health, because I got to tell you, it's not going to get any better on its own. And most of the people that I come across have terrible shoulder mobility unless they're actively doing something about it. Okay, those are the 4. I know I said 3, but those are the 4 that I like before doing any dipping. Now, with dips, a lot of people say they can't do them because of shoulder issues, shoulder pain. And if that's you, then don't do dips, obviously. Should you probably have the shoulder mobility to be able to do dips if you have never had surgery or a massive injury? Probably so. I think it's something that every human being is probably able to do for the most part, with the exception of outliers. And you should probably try and work up to a place where you're able to do them. It's just such a profoundly effective exercise at making you strong. I will say that, I guess with parallel bars, with dipping bars, using dips on a regular basis was how I was able to bench press over 300 for the first time. It was when I started doing a lot of dips to really strengthen my triceps. And it got to the point where my close grip bench was actually stronger than a wider grip because my triceps were so much stronger, which was really good. The rings, totally different ball game. So I'm showing, I guess, these for the people that are a little bit more advanced, or let's say you can do 10 to 15 dips with your body weight on parallel bars. You would probably think then that translates pretty well to these rings, and you would be sadly mistaken unless you're incredibly strong and just good at it. So the first thing you should do before you try to attempt any dips is be able to do 3 sets of 12 push-ups off the rings when they're in a lowered position, which I'll go back and show you. But to warm up, or to just get your bearings on these rings, you want to be able to just balance without shaking like crazy. You know what I mean? Like, you're using, initially you'll see people do this and they're all over the place. And if you've never tried this before, you will find that just being still on rings like this is extremely challenging, okay? Because you have all that connective tissue that's trying to make these things stay still. And the longer these are, the more difficult it will be. Like, if you just have a couple of short ropes, you'll be able to balance a lot easier than like these are, 10 feet tall. So once you're able to just hold statically for, say, 30 seconds, then you'll be able to move on to dipping. So again, just as I demonstrated yesterday with the feet tucked up behind me, It's precisely how I used to do dips. And so I'll show you what that looks like. So I would cross behind me, slowly lower, right? And slowly press back up. And there's nothing wrong with this dip. And that's probably where you should start if you've never really messed with ring dips before. But I think you'll probably want to get to the point, just like I mentioned yesterday, where you're doing the hollow body. And so again, that's you being at full extension with your feet pointed out in front of you and slowly lowering. I think this will ultimately train your body for a better position when you progress, if you're interested in doing muscle ups, that sort of thing. So we have feet behind, we have feet in front in the hollow body position. I guess I'll show you a weighted dip so you know what that looks like. And again, you can do this with a dumbbell, you can do this with a weighted vest, you can do it with a weight belt. I'm just going to hold it between my legs. Same thing, just don't crush your toes. You get set and you come down. I guess I should do it hollow body as well. Okay, so that's dipping in a nutshell. And you can go a long way with just that and get very strong. I don't know what the transfer will be like from this back to barbells. I mentioned in that article yesterday that I'm out of the gym for a while I feel good and while I continue to make gains with bodyweight stuff, but I'll be back. I love the gym, so we'll see what kind of transference there is of strength. So the last thing I want to show you is with the rings and a dip, is the rings turned out. And so, man, when I first saw this, I just thought it was impossible. I would get up to the top of my dip and just trying to move your hands at all and keep your body steady seemed just absolutely bananas. And I'm still not by any means good at it, but you will notice that as you can push up and extend and get your hands out, that will really set you up not only for more strength, but for a lot more transitions if you continue to work on the rings. So your toes are out in front of you, you're in the hollow body, you go into this full dip, and when you come up, you're going to turn the hands out. All the way down, turn your hands out. And those are called ring turned out dips, rings turned out, and they're extremely challenging. It's just something to progress to and aim for. So let me see if there are any burning questions. Hey Michael, hey Darcy, thank you for tuning in. Any questions? Oh man, look at all. Okay, so I will address all that cool stuff at the end of this. For now, I want to show you, before I forget, so let's say you can't do any dips, but you want to work up to it. Just like yesterday with the pull-ups, there are ways to do that with these rings. I really should start getting sponsored by these rings for as much as I'm pimping them. Okay, so we can't do dips yet, right? But you can do push-ups. Wow, are those the same height? They don't look too bad. You can do push-ups, but you're not quite to dip. So what you can do in between is ring push-ups. And you can change the difficulty. You know, the magnitude of difficulty on all this can be changed just by your position. Now, you don't have to do them with these no yo-yo plastic rings. You can do them with TRX bands or whatever you have. However, you need something in order to do this in between stage. Otherwise, it'll be pretty challenging. But again, you can do whatever you want as long as you stay safe and get stronger. So with these, you're just coming down and pushing, just like you would be on the dips. The more you stand away from where the rings are hanging, from straight under, say, a plumb line, if I'm here, this is going to be a lot harder because my body is at a much more challenging angle, right? But if I walk away from that, I don't even know what you would call it. It's not a center line. It's like the angle of incidence. It's a geometry thing. Here it's much easier, right? Compared to stepping back and being directly underneath where the rings are hanging. So this, if you can start doing this for 3 sets of 12 and a full, you're trying to get slightly deeper on every single extension. So at the top I'm squeezing, at the bottom I'm getting a deep, deep stretch in my chest. Again, you need to be super warmed up for this, but it's not terribly difficult and you can progress really fast. So just by changing those, by lowering them, by making them higher, you will have, there's actually just, it's incredible the motorcycles, right? It's incredible also the amount of different tension and difficulty you can put on these rings just by moving them up and down. So the last thing I'll show you with these rings push-ups is a rings turned out push-up, which will begin to develop that strength for you to be able to do the rings turned out dip. And so you do the regular push-up like so, and at the top you're going to slightly turn your wrists out. Again, this is much more advanced, so you probably don't even need to attempt this until you can do 3 sets of 12, but this is the next step. And if you can do 3 sets of 12 of these, you're probably ready to start doing dips on the rings. The last thing I'll show you before I wrap this up and start answering questions is the LSIT, which is going to give you a lot of strength towards being able to depress your scapula. And I got to tell you very honestly, this is so hard for me personally. I don't know why I find this so hard. I think anyone over 6 feet has a little bit of difficulty with the leverages. If you have thicker legs or glutes, this will be challenging. But it's such a great move for strengthening your entire midsection, but also your hip flexors, top of your quadriceps, and of course your pushing power. So the easiest way to do this is you're putting your hands right next to your hips, is to push down and get your butt off the ground, right? This is the very first version. This is you getting your butt up, and just doing this, if you've never done it, very hard, very, very challenging. You're pushing down through your scapula and just trying to lift your butt off. The more you lean forward, the more you will feel that tension in your abs. So then from there, and I am by no means great at this, so I'm just telling you this because it has been a huge benefit to me. But if you want to see what a really decent LSIT looks like, just Google it. So then from getting your butt up, you're going to raise one leg, and then if you can do that, then you're going to raise the other, and your goal is to be able to do a minute with your butt off the ground. And I'm not going to do it right now because I'm already tired. And I would hate to fail you live. So that is the pushing primer. And again, there's no excuse for you not to have strong pushing muscles. Pulling, I get it. You don't have a pull-up bar, you don't have rings, you don't have a gym membership. That's really not a good excuse. But with pushing, doing push-ups, you don't even have to get to the rings. You can get very, very strong doing just pushing exercises. And I just sort of scratched the surface with this, but I wanted to open it up to questions and kind of get an idea of what your pushing strength is like. And if you have any questions about how to progress and where you can go from here, please let me know. So that is all I have for today. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.